Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. We are extremely excited to host you to discuss ShellBlack and BridgeFT's Multi-Custodial Data Aggregator. So we are just kind of letting a few people file in here as we get started. While we let some additional people join the call, let's go through some housekeeping as well as talking about today's agenda for the call. So we are going to start by introducing our panelists. After that, we will go into a little bit of background on ShellBlack as well as BridgeFT. In case you're not familiar with the companies, we can give you guys a little bit more information there. And then from that point forward, we will be discussing the specifics around the multi-custodial data aggregator, what it is, how it works. We'll also cover some of our most commonly requested data feed sources. After that, we are super excited that we are going to be able to show you a live demo of the platform today. So definitely make sure you stay on the call for that demo portion. Following the demo, we are going to go into some of our most frequently asked questions, which are going to be very informative and help provide more information about kind of how the aggregator works and how easy it is to get up and running with it. After that, we do have dedicated time for a question and answer session. So we do request that as we go through the call, if you can please enter your questions in as you think of them, and then we will save all of those questions for the end during that live Q&A portion. But again, as things are coming up, as we're discussing information, don't hesitate to just use your control panel there on the right-hand side of the screen to pop those questions in, and we will make sure to have our panelists address those questions all at the end of the call. After we go through those live questions, then we will address next steps for people that are interested in either learning more about the aggregator or getting started with it. Also, in terms of housekeeping, I wanted to let everyone know that today's session is being recorded, and you will receive a copy of that recording to your inbox later this afternoon. So without further ado, I'm so excited to introduce our amazing panelists for today's call, starting with ShellBlack, representing the ShellBlack company. Shell, would you tell the group a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'll just cover a little bit about my Salesforce background. So I've been working and consulting on Salesforce for about 20 years, both as a consultant and also I was a financial services customer of Salesforce. So kind of seen both sides of the fence. And I've been running my Salesforce consulting practice for the last 15 years. I have 7 Salesforce certifications, and I'll pause there because we're going to talk a little bit about the company here in a little bit. So I guess I'll pass the mic to Greg.
Thank you, Shell. Hi, I'm Greg Glazer. I'm a solutions engineer with ShellBlack. I work on the sales side to help new clients or existing clients scope the kind of projects that they want to do by solving technology or business goals. I've been with ShellBlack for about 9, coming on 10 years now, but I've been working in and around the Salesforce ecosystem since 2006.
Awesome, Greg, super excited to have you, and I definitely can't wait for that demo that we have coming up later. And last but certainly not least, super excited to introduce Dave Hagan of BridgeFT. Dave, would you tell the group a little bit about yourself?
Sure, thanks, Carolyn, and good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining today's webinar. My name is Dave Hagan, and I am the Chief Commercial Officer for BridgeFT. I'm responsible for BridgeFT sales, marketing, and our client success teams, and really excited about today's webinar because it's not often you get to work with an innovative company like ShellBlack to solve a real pain point, a real need for RIAs and wealth managers, particularly around connecting critical client and account data with Salesforce Financial Services Cloud, and really can't wait to share more about this collaboration today.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Dave. So let's go ahead and transition into a little bit more background about ShellBlack. Shell, would you take it away? Shell, you there?
Oh, sorry, had on
Nope.
myself on mute. Gotcha. Sorry about that. So I'll tell you just a couple of quick things about the company if you don't know us already. So ShellBlack is a Salesforce consulting and implementation partner. We started back in 2010, and this June is actually going to be our 15-year anniversary, which we think is pretty cool. I think what makes us unique is the depth of our Salesforce experience. As you can see with some of the stats there on the kind of the bottom corner of the slide, we've delivered over 2,000 projects, and our team is heavily certified, and all our consultants bring over a decade of real-world experience on the Salesforce platform. So next slide. Perfect. As a Salesforce consulting partner, we're highly focused and specialized on financial services. We're a specialist, we're not a generalist. If you look at our portfolio of active clients, over 95% are in financial services. Because we're working in financial services, when financial services clients day in and day out, the advantage for our clients is that our consultants speak the language of our clients and understand their business. They also bring industry best practices to the table that help our clients grow and scale. Next slide. If you ask Salesforce what we're known for, they'll tell you it's our work with wealth management. We're the premier Salesforce partner in the wealth management space. And to that point, and you can see it on some of the slide here, we've worked with over 400 RIAs, including 40% of the Barron's top 20. We've delivered over 100,000 hours worth of work with the RIAs. And at the bottom of the slide, you'll see some of the industry trade shows we attend. Some of those are the ones that we've attended in the past. We've also sponsored Schwab Impact, and this year you can find us at Futureproof and also Advise AI. So if you're out looking at trade shows and see us, please come by and say hi to our team. So to wrap up kind of our intro, if you're looking at Salesforce, or if you have Salesforce and you want to leverage best practices to grow and scale your business, or perhaps you need some help supporting M&A activities specifically with the CRM conversions, please keep us in mind. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shell. That was an awesome intro. Really appreciate it. And now we're going to talk a little bit about BridgeFT. Dave, would you take it away?
Yep, happy to do it. And for those that don't know us, BridgeFT is an infrastructure software company. We power a number of financial institutions, fintechs, advisors, and more. We're really committed to technology, and particularly modern technology that's cloud native and completely API first. Our Wealth Tech as a Service platform, which is illustrated on this slide, which we call today Wealth Tech API, offers a single platform really to host a number of sort of critical services, including analytics-ready, multi-custodial data aggregation. For us, everything starts with the data, as you can see at sort of that bottom level there, really providing data across the total wealth spectrum to drive things like advanced analytics using some core engines that we have like performance and fee billing and others, and providing those capabilities through a number of sort of headless application services. So really powering sort of next generation technology using APIs from data all the way through to the core business logic around those. And we believe our commitment to our clients is really being a true technology enabler that makes it easier to bring new technology, new ideas to life faster and definitely cheaper. I won't go through this slide here, but really for us, as I said, it all starts with the data for us. We believe we bring some very unique advantages to the table as it relates to total wealth data aggregation. That's why we're so excited about this partnership here with ShellBlack, and really beyond sort of the data coverage that we have across hundreds of different sources. We deliver sort of a single source of truth for our clients that we gather and process each day from those custodial sources. And typically we're doing a host of data enrichment on that data to make it standardized and normalized for easy consumption, and then exposing data elements that we think are oftentimes hard to get to or left out by other Salesforce overlays or connectors. And again, being able to expose this data in Salesforce, things like transaction level data and detailed tax lots and profile data around a particular client, such as related parties, so beneficiaries, trusted parties, that really allow for sort of deeper analytics and more capabilities around essential workflows. So we think data is really the core to driving that, and being able to bring that into Salesforce seamlessly is really exciting here with the ShellBlack partnership. I won't go through this in much detail beyond to say that this just really is a quick snapshot of why our clients choose our modern data infrastructure to power their experiences, from the depth of the data through being able to gain access to a single API to having source custodian data that matches what the custodian has in their client portals, on statements, on confirms, really, no data manipulation, no screen scraping. It matches exactly what those systems are, and that's really our driver here, is to provide easy access to that type of data.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Dave. I think that gives some great context around BridgeFT and our WealthTech API offering. So now that we've covered off on the backgrounds of both organizations, let's dive into our offering today, which is the Multi-Custodial Data Aggregator. Dave, do you want to kick it off with just a little bit more context around sort of what the platform entails, as well as some of the most common data sources we're seeing?
Yeah, happy to do that. And as I said, we're really thrilled about this partnership and being a sort of a partner of choice with ShellBlack to power this accelerator. And I think, as I said, the data is sort of core. Today we have more than 900 direct feeds that we aggregate across a number of different sources, whether that's custodians or back office providers or correspondent clearing firms, prime brokers, asset managers, alternative investment providers. We offer sort of a one-stop shop for that data. And really, once the app is installed within FSC, as Greg will show you in the demo, your firm will have full access to aggregated, accurate, clean client account securities, transactional data to power your Salesforce investment. We know that across the industry that that is a challenge of how do you bring all the data into into one area here. And this table down below is really just a sample of some of our most requested data sources. Not limited to that, as I said, we have hundreds of different sources, but in particular for RIAs and wealth managers on this call, you'll definitely recognize some of the the most heavily used custody platforms, asset class coverage providers as well. And if you don't see something on the list, feel free to ask. And happy to confirm as well. Greg, you want to touch on some of the key app features?
Yeah, I think it's a great way to tee up the demo that's upcoming. So when you take the BridgeFT Aggregator Accelerator into account, in comparing it to maybe other partners and services in this space, you're going to find that it gets a much greater level of depth to the information you can make use of in Salesforce. So most of the PMS platforms out there are going to be able to help you probably sync personal or individual accounts, get your households and clients into the system, and maybe sync those financial account balances. But not all of them really get into levels of depth like Dave described about the holdings themselves or tax lots and things like that. It also narrows the breadth. So most of those platforms are going to allow you to pull whatever they happen to have resident in their system. It's not an aggregator of the 900 or so different data sources that BridgeFT can provide. So with the ShellBlack BridgeFT aggregator, not only can we do those kind of default aspects of things you would expect at a minimum, but now financial holdings, the tax lots associated, a much broader scope of data sources that we can pull in. And we also have the ability to use logic to match accounts effectively so that you don't have a lot of orphans or accounts that are not associated to a particular client because of the way you actually program the solution to look for various matching levels to make that data complete without a lot of error handling. So with that, I suppose we should take a moment, get ready to switch screens a little bit, and we'll do a demo.
Yeah, thanks so much, Greg. Let's get you set up here to share that demo. Just 1 second here, everybody. We're going to get that live demo queued up for you here in just a moment.
Okay, I should be showing the screen, I believe. So,
I don't think we're quite yet. Oh, there we go. Just a little perfect. Okay.
On the air. Perfect.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, so this is a bit of a default Financial Services Cloud org. Since the focus today is on the BridgeFT data aggregator, there's not a lot of configuration going on with other pages you may see here. That's intentional because we want you to understand too that this is resident data and you can continue to configure your Financial Services Cloud instance as you see fit for your business. In fact, we kind of assist with that if we want to alter layouts and do those things, but you're in complete control of all the other elements that come into play here. So just as a quick story to kind of take you through this, we could start on the account or what you might call the household or entity level, and we'll pick a particular family to get a basic overview of the information that they might have about themselves, right? This is about the family. You can see a basic relationship layout, and if they have other entities to which they're associated, there's further details about the client, as you can imagine. And then there's a listing of the various financial accounts that are associated to the family as a whole and within the household. So at this high level, you can see it in two ways. We've created it as a sub-tab in the main part of the layout here on the left, but also on the right is just a different kind of summary view related to household financial accounts. I can click any way. This is all about advisor experience on how to get through to the next level. So let's pick, for instance, a household related to Elena, or a financial account related to Elena. There's a lot of detail coming in from the BridgeFT aggregator. And so we've got all of this information here. Is just a very large display of kind of dense information, but we can also take a look at the various holdings they might have as well too. So not only can I get into the specific financial account, but what's held in that IRA or 529 or Roth or any of the other kind of like financial instruments that you may have. Again, I've got a display here on the left. Some advisors like to see greater levels of detail or just tabular rows. Others may like the way the presentation looks on the right, which is just a different kind of component to show the information in a little bit more detail. You can see that there's different balances, gain, loss, and so on. So if I go one level deeper on this, let's pick the Investigo QQQ Trust, for instance. Now I can see specific information about the holding, but now I can get into the lot level of information. So I've got various lots here, transactions over time. And if I dig into any one of those, I can start to see an even further level of detail about that lot. What's the QSIP, when was the custodian, is there a specific account number, the reported value, and so on. So there's quite a lot of information at the record level that we can display, in addition to kind of giving that summary view of everything, where an advisor might want to just click through and drill into specific elements of what they see in terms of portfolio health and just client information. Now, the data itself is resident in Salesforce. It loads into Salesforce, which is a big benefit from those other solutions that may only mirror data in, where you can view it, but doesn't actually sit there to trigger anything or make itself available for reporting. And so just to kind of round it out, we wanted to give you an example of what you can do with this information. Once the data is there, this is all available to you for common Salesforce dashboards and reporting. So in this example, we've created an advisor experience where they log into their homepage and they can see the overall portfolio that they're responsible for managing, total portfolio value, cash available, and so on. These are all simply configurable dashboards and reports in Salesforce. You can get a look at a particular family, or you could actually just say, show me the entire book of business that I'm responsible for, and see automatic refreshes to data, all based on the data that's actually sitting in Salesforce, ready for you to use for reporting, even triggering other things like platform automation and workflow. So there's a quick rundown on how the data can work for you in Salesforce.
Perfect.
Carolyn, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I think that was super helpful to kind of see that live. So let's transition back to our slide deck here so that we can start going through that Q&A. Just give me one moment here, everybody, to transition back to that slide deck. And guys, I will say, I noticed we've already been having some awesome questions coming in, so please keep that coming. Keep submitting those questions. We definitely will get to those at the end of the call here for the Q&A. Amazing. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's go into our frequently asked questions. And again, we're going to go through these and then we're going to segue right into that live Q&A. So definitely keep those questions coming, everybody. So Dave, one of the most common questions we see is what really ultimately differentiates this accelerator from other connectors that are available? Do you want to provide some context there?
Yeah, no, happy to take this question and probably spend a bunch of time really diving into this deeper, but just as sort of a highlight. And I know Greg, in his demo, which was great just to see it sort of live and in action, just touched on a few of the features and sort of the capabilities of, one, getting the data into the system, but two, what you can do once it's there. I think also specifically beyond the fact that the app is designed to take full advantage of FSC, this connector or accelerator is really truly multi-custodial in nature. And we know, from a RIA and a wealth manager perspective, having the ability to bring in data from those different sources where you have, custodial relationships and being able to aggregate that all in one place is critical. And obviously there's an investment in Salesforce and being able to use that data, to fuel sort of deeper analytics. As Greg mentioned, being able to take advantage of all the dashboarding and reporting, and even leveraging some of the unique tools that Salesforce makes available. Also, what I will say too is that a lot of that data particularly the deeper data, can really fuel essential workflows. So things like transaction level data or tax lot to power trading scenarios, or to really drive sort of tax optimization for your clients. Being able to expose that data is really critical. And the last thing I'll say, which kind of goes back to our value proposition, is that sort of single source of truth. We don't do any sort of screen scraping or data manipulation. So, it matches exactly what you would get from the custodian.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Dave. Really appreciate you going through that. Next question here is regarding, is this accelerator compatible with anything other than FSC? And some examples are listed here. Greg, would you provide a little context there?
Thanks, Carolyn. The solution is purpose-built for Financial Services Cloud, so it's not compatible with other platforms that may be presenting themselves as the overlays like the ones you see on screen.
Perfect, thank you. And then additionally, common question we're seeing is, what considerations does a firm need to account for if they already have Salesforce with other integrations installed at this point?
Yes, obviously a great question. We want to. I'll address this a little more at length. Yes, we encourage you to enable a trial version of the aggregator in a sandbox first. Most clients, I suppose, are going to have most Salesforce users are going to have a partial sandbox. That should be fine for initial testing purposes, because we do want to make sure that there is no disruption to data, minimal impacts kind of thing. Because if you already have an aggregator of some kind, perhaps you're pulling data in straight from Schwab, or you're using an Orion platform or something like that, this presents an interesting, I guess, architectural perspective on things. We can't say that it's going to break anything for sure, but I think the idea is to run it in a test environment so that we can figure out if there are any particular data collisions, and then figure out how to mitigate those problems. For instance, it may be that if the data is stronger coming out of BridgeFT than Schwab, maybe what we do is we turn off the inputs to Schwab and leave the outputs, the other kind of methods that exist there. So in the end, work with us. We're happy to enable a trial version for you, and we can assist with a little bit of testing to make sure that the data is flowing according to your expectations.
Perfect, thanks so much. And nextly, I think it's worth covering off on which version of FSC does this accelerator platform work with?
Yeah, great. So this is correct. You need the minimum edition you need is Enterprise Edition. Most of you will probably understand that you need Enterprise or Performance or Unlimited Edition. Those are the most common. You need the API capability, and that's really what this is. So Enterprise Edition or higher, and today it's about the FSC Managed Package version. For a very long time, Salesforce was implementing, standing up Salesforce Financial Services Cloud for the first time by using a series of links to install an FSC kit, if you will. And so that's been the standard up until about a year or year and a half ago, when they started going a lot further in the direction of what they call core. It's the difference between using custom objects versus Salesforce standard objects. And today, the solution is built for the FSC managed package, making use of those custom objects in the FSC namespace. So today, we'll be able to work with you and confirm whether you're on the managed package or core. If you've been on the system for less than a year, you're probably core. If you've been on for longer than a year, you're probably managed package, but we'll validate that with you. And if it turns out you are on core, we ask you to be patient. We're actually in development to account for that architecture change as well, and we should have that rolled out in the summer of this year.
Perfect, thank you so much. All right, let's just go into a few more FAQs here. So Greg, I think this would be a great one for you. Is the accelerator configurable?
Yes, it is. So we can configure some of the data flow, for instance. You can select whether the holding or lot data should be loaded, because oftentimes holding and lot data is a lot more data under the waterline, if you will. It just amounts to whether or not your org has the data capacity to handle it. The more users you have, the more data space you have, and that may be a good reason to look at whether holding or lot data should be loaded. We can turn that on or off for you. And of course, after that, it's not really about the accelerator, but once the data is in play, you can do anything you need as far as rearranging layouts, coming up with list views, things like that. So everything about the way the solution works is configurable.
Great. And then again, common question we're seeing is, can I create my own reports?
Yeah, I guess I jumped ahead a little bit on that one. Of course you can. The data is available in Salesforce, and as you've seen, Financial Services Cloud allows you to build reports on any data that's resident in the system. So of course you can.
Great. And then again, super common question, I think totally worth covering off on here is, how often does the aggregator run?
Yeah, it's configured to run daily right now. And that seems to be the most logical approach, because that's about as often as the custodians and the data sources update their own data too. So the idea here is to have it running a process before, say, the start of the advisor's day. However, if there's reasons, maybe you're actually only have an interest in capturing, say, annuities or things that balances that update less frequently, we can change the frequency to weekly or monthly, depending on what your specific business needs are.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I will say we have seen like a really nice influx of questions kind of coming in as we're coming up on that Q&A portion of the presentation. I will say some of the questions that people are submitting, we may have touched on a little bit here in the FAQ, but I do absolutely think for the sake of clarity, it is worth going through each question and making sure that, we address any concerns the audience might have. So let's kick off the Q&A here. I think this would be a good one for Shell. How long does it take to implement this accelerator?
Sure, I'll take that. It can be done in a day. So once you have your BridgeFT credentials, installing the app, configuring it can be done in a day, and then you can either do testing or you can decide if you want to have it in a live production environment. I will say, kind of talking about that scenario that Greg was referring to earlier, if you have another connector, you can configure the time that the BridgeFT sync runs. So if you have a job that's running at 2 o'clock in the morning, you don't want to have BridgeFT trying to load data at the same time, you can schedule by the hour when you want that to run to make sure you have plenty of cushion on another integration running.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Nextly, we have a question here. How is data prioritized between the custodian updating the CRM versus launching an update at the custodian from the CRM? And then a follow-on to that is, if a reporting platform already aggregates investment accounts data, how can BridgeFT be leveraged to keep KYC information updated? So maybe, Greg, do you want to kind of tackle the front end of this one, and then maybe Dave can address the BridgeFT?
Yeah. Let me hit the first part, thanks. So just to repeat it, how is data prioritized between a custodian feed into the CRM versus the CRM pushing data back to the custodian? I think we see this a lot of times when you're working with a custodian connection that allows you to push, say, name or address updates or things like that. BridgeFT's solution, what we've built, is for consumption of information in Salesforce. So it's a one-way flow. If you have another tool that's going to update a client account, or it's going to update a balance, if that's possible, I'm not aware of many that do that, then what would happen is, it's the next day, assuming all the other data has been committed, it would either overwrite or preserve the information that you've changed. Remember, as a consumption device, it's really just taking the data sources, aggregating them, normalizing them, and then bringing them into Salesforce. So that's one of those kind of data impact analysis things we'd want to work with you on to figure out your specific use case and make sure that we're still kind of preserving what you want to do from a business standpoint.
Perfect. And then Dave, do you want to kind of just close the loop on the BridgeFT component there?
Yeah, happy to. And just to repeat the portion of the question, if a reporting platform already aggregates investment account data, how can BridgeFT be leveraged to keep things like KYC information updated? And I think it probably requires a sort of a deeper conversation, but we work with a number of clients, RIAs, wealth managers, and others who leverage sort of BridgeFT's data infrastructure, either as a full replacement for some of those investment account data connections, or really to to potentially supplement as well. So as we pointed out a few times here during the webinar, the exposing data elements that you wouldn't typically get from a reporting platform or from other sort of connectors, even from the custodian themselves, tax lots, cost basis, the actual advisor codes that sort of govern account relationships, rep codes, G numbers, those types of things, all the sort of metadata around the client, all the metadata around the particular account that's really valuable, that wouldn't necessarily come over from the from the reporting platform, we have clients who who really will leverage us directly, or will use us to supplement and fill in the gaps that they may not necessarily get as part of that.
Perfect. Thanks so much for sort of diving into that, Dave. Really appreciate it. Transitioning here to another question. This person asked, is this primarily for current clients or prospective clients? Any thoughts on that, guys?
I suppose yes. If you're a financial services cloud client already, then and you're looking for data aggregation, maybe I'll let Dave touch on that. But yeah, this is good for net new and for existing clients who are interested in data improvements.
Yeah, and maybe I'll take that sort of at a different angle, and I would suspect that who's asking that would be an advisor themselves or a firm in regards to their clients, or if they're prospecting for new clients. And what I'll say is it sort of could fit in both buckets. Obviously, if you have an existing client today that you're managing assets for, and those assets are custodied with one or more custodians, or maybe across sort of different financial institutions, we can bring in that data based on those relationships that you as the advisor or you as the firm may have. But there's also the ability to leverage some of the data connections to build and manage some of those lead management prospecting sort of capabilities as well. So as you're out there building recommendations, as you're out there building proposals, getting sort of a clear and full picture of a prospect or a client's total wealth, being able to centralize that all in one place to drive analytics, to drive those reporting capabilities, to drive portfolio optimization. We definitely have clients that will use the data to support prospecting across a book or across a firm as well.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Dave. Really appreciate that. And I actually have another one for you here, Dave. This person asks specifically, what is BridgeFT doing to validate and reconcile the accuracy of data coming from the custodians?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So we have a number of sort of methods and an approach to validate the data, both at the source, so directly from where we're getting the data from, but also to ensure things up front around anomaly detection, ensuring that the data is sort of accurate, and that exposing that data as it becomes available. So we have a full sort of methodology and approach that I'd be happy to sort of walk anybody through on how we both ingest the data from the source, and then also how we make that data available.
Great. Awesome. That's perfect. And then Greg, I just want to make sure that we cover off on this one, just so we're all clear. This person asked, is the accelerator a managed package?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. Okay, great. And then this person asks, are the values, transactions, etc., updated daily?
Yes, that's the minimum. We talked about frequency a few minutes ago. So it's updated daily at a time of your discretion, depending on what else is happening, but usually it's before start of business. However, if you want, you can augment that and actually delay it to a weekly or a monthly update cadence, depending on the kind of data you're carrying in.
Perfect. Thanks so much for clarifying there. And then, Dave, I'll probably kick this one over to you. This person specifically asked, are there any custodians you cannot access?
It's probably a broad question. Like I said, we have well over 900 different sources that we connect to today. There's probably a handful that are small or hard to find type sources, but yeah, there's probably a handful that we don't connect to. So if there's a specific one that you're looking to to gain data access to, or provide sort of connectivity to, send it our way, and we'll confirm off of our data catalog.
Yeah, I think that's great to emphasize just the fact that we do have that full data catalog of the over 900 sources available for review. And actually kind of springboarding off that, another person asks, what is the process / timeline / cost for adding new data sources or custodians that are not currently part of the BridgeFT universe?
Yeah, happy to take this one as well. So I think there's a couple of different sort of buckets of how to approach the answer to this too. So one is just the sort of data connectivity and adding new sources and custodial feeds. And I think that's one of the beauties of the connector, particularly what the ShellBlack team has built, is they've done most of the heavy lifting, if not all of the heavy lifting, by sort of pre-integrating to the BridgeFT APIs. So adding a new data source or a new custodian or a new advisor code or new accounts, does not or should not require any sort of additional development work or setup. It really becomes an activity around permissioning and authorizing access to the data from that particular data source. If there's a source that today we don't have, this is from a BridgeFT perspective, that we don't have in our catalog, we will typically work directly with that client to gain access to it, and it could be anywhere from sort of 4 to 6 weeks to add a new feed on our side. It's actually fairly quick, and it tends to be more client dependent than anything else. But we're always adding and constantly expanding our data catalog.
Perfect. Thanks so much for clarifying that, Dave. And then we have two questions here that are actually pretty similar. So I'm just going to kind of pose them simultaneously here so we can cover all our bases. So one person asks, can you send the data downstream to planning softwares? And then another person asks, any plans for adding in financial planning data with bi-directional update ability? Dave, do you want to clarify on that point when it comes to that, or?
Yeah, so I think that the first part of that question, and maybe Greg can weigh in here as well, that again, the nice sort of power of the Accelerator application is that it makes it very easy to bring the data into Salesforce, right? And once it's in Salesforce, there's lots of things you can do for it. One, leveraging the sort of the power of Salesforce and all the tools and analytics and things that are baked in there from a reporting perspective. The second part of that is if you have other applications that are sort of pre-integrated or integrated to your Salesforce instance, it's no different than if you manually were to enter your data into Salesforce. Having that data feed, sort of other downstream systems, really becomes a function of Salesforce's capabilities and what you can do to bring that data out of Salesforce. So, Greg, and maybe you could weigh in there a little bit more on what you can do with the data once it's in Salesforce to sort of
Sure, that's the second side of the bidirectional flow, right? We already have something that's going to consume data. So to push data out into other system really depends on a couple of things: what the systems are that you're intending to push to, and maybe the tool selection or your appetite for different methods of solving problems. Oftentimes you can find buy versus build solutions, subscription tools that can push data out to other systems, where we can do specific API development to various platforms. And all of that is really kind of dependent upon what will the other systems allow you to push, because sometimes they're closed and they don't allow a lot of stuff going on. For instance, I mentioned Schwab. It could do client updates, but it's not going to let me update an account balance. There's scenarios like that we'd have to talk through and determine whether it's a little bit of configuration or a little bit of custom development by way of API. But push tech would work by taking the right solutions in Salesforce to move that data.
Perfect. Thanks so much for kind of explaining that, Greg. And then just one additional question came in here, and Dave, I think I'm going to kick this one your way. This person asks, our IRA is very active in acquiring other firms. How difficult is it to add a new data source or custodial feed to our instance of Salesforce when a new firm comes aboard?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I think this sort of matches a little bit from one of the earlier questions, and similar to what I said about ShellBlack, really doing the heavy lifting on pre-integrating to the APIs. The nice part about that is if you're a fairly acquisitive RIA that's merging firms, acquiring other firms, and you're sort of inheriting the legacy tech stacks, and you want to centralize on Salesforce. And we see this a lot, and we're seeing it more and more, I think, as firms sort of roll up or bring together sort of RIA practices and sort of the disparate systems. The connector really allows for that seamless sort of flip of a switch to gain access to those those new custodians or those new accounts or new data sources that you may need. So today, your practice may be leveraging Fidelity and Schwab, but you go acquire a firm that just happens to custody all their assets with Pershing and has directly held mutual funds and annuities, with a number of different issuers as well. There's no other sort of a development work that's needed beyond, as I said, sort of simply authorizing access to that data. BridgeFT will process it, and through that same authorization and sort of access model that ShellBlack has built, that data will sort of make its way into Salesforce and really power those sets of tools. So we see that quite often. RAAs who are really active and trying to centralize, within the Salesforce environment to get one sort of single system of record for their data.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. Well, that looks like everything we have had submitted on today's call. Let's go ahead and just briefly talk about next steps for people who are interested in learning more or getting started. Shell, do you want to cover off how people can get more information about the accelerator?
Yeah, there's a couple ways. You can email us at info@shellblack.com. You can go to our accelerator page. So if you do shellblack.com/bridgeFT, or you can simply go to Salesforce App Exchange and search for ShellBlack, no space, and you'll find us there. And you can ask for a trial or want to contact us. We can do it straight off the App Exchange.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And Dave, do you want to reiterate for people that are interested in learning more about BridgeFT's data services?
Yeah, happy to do it. And I encourage everybody to go to our website, bridgeft.com. Take a look at some of our capabilities. There's a sampling of both our custodial sources and some of the data aspects that we bring together, as well as our sort of our partner network, including the folks at ShellBlack. There's an email address here, sales@bridgeft.com. You feel free to reach out to that directly, or reach out to me directly. It's just dave@bridgeft.com. Happy to answer questions, dive a little deeper, and get you connected to the right folks at the ShellBlack team.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I wanted to say thank you to our amazing panelists who shared this awesome information with us today. And also thank you to everyone who attended and spent your afternoon with us. Please keep an eye on your inbox for that recording, as well as some additional information coming your way later today. And we hope to host you for a future session. Thank you. Have a great day.